number E230876. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Ruck.
Julian Ruck, yep.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is Greg. What we got?
So I've been out to this property a couple times, Your Honor. This is a vacant lot where a community garden's been installed. And the issues there today are open storage and a large amount of material here. I'm going to read you right from my last inspection. If you just give me a second. So I've been out, I've met Mr. Ruck there a couple of times, and we've discussed what's going on at his garden. And the last time we were out there, I went back, I gave him a copy of the enforcement. And this morning, the grade's been dramatically altered at the property. That was done by, there's a bunch of trees, broken asphalt, concrete, variety of composting material that's been brought in. That needs to be removed. There's boxes, there's bags, there's tarps, there's coolers, there's a hammock, there's chairs, there's pallets that he's using for building material. He's erected a couple of structures on the property which are not compliant with the city ordinance. They also, all this stuff would need to be removed. There are T-posts and fencing on the property, and that, as I discussed with Mr. Ruck, I mean, that's gardening stuff. So, I mean, that's a discussion we could have. I mean, that clearly is stuff you would use in a garden. But all those other things that I listed, that stuff does not comply with the city ordinances and would need to be removed.
Okay, Mr. Ruck.
May I? Okay. These are not current photos, which should be said. And this is something I've had ongoing issues with the Blight department, is they will regularly misrepresent what we're doing out there, including taking photos from the worst possible angle, things like that. So to the comment that I have increased grade, that's not true. What I've done is I've imported gardening materials, not soil, sometimes compost, but mostly mulch. Now there you see an increase in grade, and that is a raised garden bed in the back that I've been installing. And that has asparagus, which will grow for 40 years for the community in that raised bed. That has rhubarb, that has onions. I've been building that, and actually I'm speaking with some local indigenous folks about incorporating some of their little people mythology into that artistically. Now, the reason I have a raised bed there is because when I bought the property, that part was all driveway. And so I can't grow it's wasted space for me. So I had to put a raised bed. You can go to a church just down the street here. They have raised beds on pavement. You know, you can go around town. Yeah, but, okay, and so I have a video footage here that I can show you of both my garden right now and other gardens around town, and the scientific information that when you're using mulch, wood chips, things like that, there is no drainage issue. That, in fact, the science is that the reason you use mulch is so you can retain the water as it falls. On the edge of the property there, you see the tree. My property line actually goes through that tree a little bit. So what it's draining over onto is 5 feet of my property.
So you're saying that's not altered the grade?
It has not, it has altered the grade in the back for that raised bed, but that has had no effect on drainage whatsoever. The whole garden is a permaculture design, which I understand this community is unfamiliar with, but I have 20 years experience with it. Permaculture soaks the water up. There's nothing draining off here. The whole point of using mulch is to retain water so we don't have to irrigate. We don't have lined plastic because all summer long, just an inch under that mulch is moist soil because it retains the water.
So are you saying there's an exception to the ordinance for this type of raised bed?
Yeah, I believe so, because
What section of the ordinance are you?
Well, what I'm saying to is just science.
No. I'm asking you, is there an exception to the ordinance for what you're doing?
What I'm expressing is that it refers to soil being added to raised grade. If you have a garden bed and a pile of leaves is not raised grade, that's mulch, you know? And so I feel like that this doesn't apply. Also, painting with a very broad stroke, we're dealing with code written in 2013, correct? Some of the building material I'm using, like cob, which is the earthen material that I've built the structures out of, was approved by the International Building Code in 2021. I have 13 years experience building with this stuff. The project manager for the Blue Water Expansion Project, Carrie Warren, has agreed to put her civil engineer stamp on everything I've built out there because of it's totally viable. The issue is this code doesn't have anything that supports or encourages or even acknowledges the possibility that somebody might grow food for others. I grow literally tons of food every year on that garden space and give it away. There's no individual in this community who comes anywhere near what I do. I give to the soup kitchen. Part of the reason these projects move along slowly, all week I've been trying to catch up and get ready for the Blight hearing, but yesterday I had like 6 visitors in the garden who I gave a little tour to and left with a bag of produce, garlic, carrots, spinach, lettuce. We grow year round and at such a high level that people are like, I've never seen it before. The wildflowers you see are all edible. It's kale. At the Eastern market, those flowers would sell for $24 a pound. Here, they're like, it's weeds. No, it's not. And I've tried. I went to the Blight open houses that they had recently, Blight Department open houses, and that's why we're here, actually, because we had kind of an uneasy truce until the season began. They had open houses, and I thought, in good faith, I'm gonna go there.
Okay, but let's talk about the structures. I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Right.
As far as giving away produce, but that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about code
Right,
violations.
right, exactly. So every structure I can defend. The food pantry in the back, on the back alley, Seed and Soul has one out on the south end. In fact, David Haynes sent me a message, make your food pantry look more like theirs, which currently I have shrunken the size of it and am making it smaller. The storage thing, which that right there is the outdoor kitchen, okay?
Do you have a permit for that?
I do not, but hold on. I built that outdoor kitchen at the middle of last summer and then tried it out a few times. I mean, this is all new to the community. It's new to me too. I don't know how well things are gonna work. And it worked really well. I said, bring food and we'll see what happens. And weekend after weekend, we'd have 2 dozen people out there sharing food, meeting each other in the neighborhood, doing what I believe we're supposed to do in our neighborhoods. So then I called the health department. Called the health department and said, I want you to come down here and look this over with me because I'd like to replicate this throughout the community. I want to figure out how to get this permitted. She came out and she acknowledged that she was a little shocked that I called them because nobody ever does that. And we talked through it all and we discussed how at the moment I was boiling water for hot water, but ultimately an instant hot water heater on the back would be the best thing, and that perhaps coverage. Then I said, am I good doing what I'm doing right now with 12 people cookouts? She says, yeah, you're fine, okay? So when I went to the Blight open house, the first meeting, I'm sorry, Stacy, I gotta tell them, you brought up the outdoor kitchen and you said it's a health code violation. And I said, I called the health department and you said, no, somebody called them on you. I said, no, I called them and I can prove it. And you said, nobody calls the health department on themselves.
That's not what's
But no, hold on now. This is my time to speak. And I start getting interrupted just when I get to a point. And then when I said, no, I called them and I can prove it, you just stood up and walked away.
Okay, but we're
No, I'm not, but we're not because the problem here is they won't engage in genuine discourse with me. And then they just get up and walk away and say, this isn't to code. That 2013.
Mr. Rock, I've engaged with you twice.
Alright.
So 2 things. You say those aren't current photos. Those are current photos.
No, they're not.
I just took those last week.
That's last week. I'm out there 10, 12 hours a day.
Hold on. This is Mr. Rock's time to speak. I want to speak about
Thank
the
you.
violation.
Yes.
I don't want to get off into the good you're doing for the community. Nobody's doubting that. We're talking about structures without
Right.
permits.
Right.
So
And
tell
I
me why this is, how this complies with the
Okay.
current ordinance.
Now, what I'm saying is it doesn't. I'm also saying that in September of 2020, I went to the Planning Commission and started working, asking for these ordinances, begging for these regulations. For 2.5 years, I've been trying to get the city to talk about urban ag zoning, and I have a long record of being ignored, silenced. Nobody will talk to me. They don't want to do it. They keep kicking the can down the road. Meanwhile, our efforts grow. And they want me to dumb it down and succeed less to meet parameters that were established a decade ago without any adjustment whatsoever, as if 1 in 4 people in Port Huron aren't going hungry right now. It's absurd.
You're getting off on a tangent again. We're talking about alleged violations of current code.
I know, and I will acknowledge that they are a violation of current code. What I'm saying is I have done my due diligence, and I am not in the wrong for what I am doing.
From a policy standpoint.
From code written a decade ago.
But it is code.
Yeah, and
You realize I don't have the authority to change the code.
I know that, and we spoke about this when I was here last. I know that you can't,
Right.
but I know that you are also here to do what's right for the community, to make a clean, safe environment for the community, as you said, and that in the last interactions we had here, I saw you did your best to help us out. Now, if I'm standing in direct violation of a code and you have to enforce a code and there's an impasse there, I will tell you, my community is ready. My community is ready. And I have been on a liquid diet for 4 or 5 days in preparation for a hunger strike, chaining myself to that and having my community come out and protect me for the next few days. I'm telling you, this is cause and effect. We've gone.
But as you acknowledge, I don't have the authority to change the code, change the ordinances, nor does the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission does not have authority to change the ordinances. Only City Council can.
I know.
The Planning Commission makes a recommendation, but if you want to change the ordinance, you have to go to a body who can do that.
And I have been to almost every single city council meeting for over a year, and they shut me up and silence me, and it's absurd.
But I can't help that. I can only look at the alleged violation and the facts and determine if a violation is incurred.
And I'm not angry. And I understand that, and I am not angry at you, and I understand that you have to do what you have to do. And if you have to assign me a $200 fine and move it down the road 60 days, fine. But I'm telling you, I have a whole community of people, local, online, and onward. That outdoor kitchen isn't going anywhere, period. And if we got to get it permitted, if we got to have my friend Kerry Warren, the civil engineer, sign off on it, and the health department sign off on it, we'll do that.
You only need the engineer to sign off on it if it's required for your permit, which you don't have, and you're not even applied for. There's not a process by which Stacy at one of the last Blight hearings said there could be grace for us having a storage unit, but the issue at that time was the plastic on front of the greenhouse. This storage space I'm creating is literally half in the ground, and I'm going to put a wooden door on it. This Blight department has already told me that I could have a storage space. So now it's like, okay, let's move towards resolution, which I'm constantly pushing for. I don't want to be. I'm sure an underground storage would be fine. You've got to get rid of the structures. How much time do you need to do that?
This is what I'm saying. That outdoor kitchen that I've built that could be permitted, no problem. Health department had no problem with it.
But
isn't going anywhere.
You don't have a permit for it. You have not applied for a permit.
I have tried to get this conversation going with the city. David Haynes will avoid my emails for months at a time.
Mr. Rudd, you don't need a conversation. You need a permit.
I'm happy to get a permit in for these structures. However,
you do that before you build these up. When we were here in April of last year, you had a citation against you for this outdoor storage for the plastic shed that was out there with the car. I dismissed that ticket, not because you weren't in violation or not because of some grace. I dismissed it because you removed the structure.
That was the second,
and you were in compliance.
Yeah.
So that's why it was dismissed.
I understand that.
The only thing I do want to say to manage expectations There is no permit opportunity because this is a vacant lot. You cannot have structures.
Right.
So you couldn't get them permitted. The ordinance doesn't allow that.
Right. Now let me throw.
Manage expectations.
Let me throw something else out there. Next door to us is Odyssey Recovery House. They work with us. They're a nonprofit. They work with us. Now hold on.
Talking about
But
that door lot. We're talking
please don't interrupt me. What if I sold the property to Odyssey Recovery House? Now all of a sudden it's not a vacant lot, is it? It's a side yard.
You're talking about joining the two properties?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a hypothetical, and if that happens, then we can address that.
Well, this would
We're
become their
talking,
problem.
we're talking about current conditions, how much time you need to bring this in compliance.
I'm saying that your code doesn't have qualifications that meet what we're doing, and there
Well,
isn't.
I'm sorry, then that means you can't do it where you're trying to do it.
It looks like I am. So, and we're feeding hundreds of people.
That's not a question.
I mean,
Code violation.
I understand
How much
that.
time do you need to cure the violation?
I'm telling you, I'm not getting rid of that outdoor kitchen.
All right, then the city will.
6 months.
Everybody's telling me to say 6 months. Sure, I'll say 6 months.
Well, no, we can get it done quicker. than
Okay,
that,
so here's the thing. This is going to be a media storm that you guys don't want, and I've done all my due diligence, and I want every eye in the country on this at this
That's
point.
fine. That's not what we're talking about.
I'm telling you right now that kitchen is going nowhere. It's feeding people in a food desert that desperately need it.
Okay, well, you're just gonna have to do it somewhere where it's allowed.
I bought a vacant lot that sat there with, it had a needle and dirty underwear when I bought it for $6,000. It sat there empty for 2 years. Now I'm growing tons of food for the community and feeding and educating the neighborhood.
What would you want to give, sir?
You guys feel like this represents your community well?
I'm sorry?
I didn't say nothing.
I did.
I'm up next. I didn't say nothing.
He's like, don't get me in trouble.
All right. Well, what this, what's our next hearing?
He does have a second enforcement, and that hearing, we could put it on that hearing date if you'd like.
When is that?
Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't.
Thank you.
Not have a second
Thank you.
enforcement. Disregard.
Well, that's, 6 is it strictly? Well, let's see. Let's do, clean up in 30 days, and we will have a show cause hearing on July 13th, and only $100 fine today.
So that's it for right now, huh?
Clean it up, get it in compliance within 30 days, remove the structures, and we'll be back on July 13th.
Okay.